This is Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 414, Flowing with the Stresses of Kids or Anyone Else by Babauta of Zen Habits.net. Hey there, OLD friend, and welcome to Optimal Relationships Daily, the show where I narrate to you from a wide range of relationship articles from Monday to Friday, just like an audiobook. And today, I'll actually be covering a post from Babauta that talks about how you can go with the flow when it comes to stress, no matter where it's coming from. And as a mama who's always interested in tips that can help us de-stress, I can't wait to share Leo's personal experience with you. So let's hear it and start optimizing your life. Flowing with the Stresses of Kids or Anyone Else by Babauta of Zen Habits.net. Parenting can be stressful. That's probably one of my bigger understatements. But as the father of 6 kids, I've learned a little about handling these stresses so that it's not such a big deal anymore. Kids throw tantrums, demand to have their way, don't see anything but their own point of view, break things, always need something, get hurt, fight with each other, start to rebel and become disrespectful as teenagers, and so on. But there are good bits too. The truth is, dealing with the stresses of kids is the same as dealing with the stresses of anyone else. The stress is just magnified because, number one, we are responsible for their lives, education, values, and everything else. And number two, we are more emotionally involved with them than we are with most other people. Still, the basics of dealing with the stresses of others apply, and what we'll talk about here can apply to anyone, not just someone with kids. Okay, let's tackle this problem. We're going to look at 2 areas. Number 1, how to deal with the stresses of others, and number 2, how to make managing kids easier. Number 1, stresses of others. In her book, Everyday Zen, Charlotte Joko Beck tells a story that I'll paraphrase here. Imagine you're rowing a boat on a foggy lake, and out of the fog comes another boat that crashes into you. At first, you're angry at the fool who crashed into you. What was he thinking? You just painted the boat. But then you notice the boat is empty. And the anger leaves. You'll have to repaint the boat, that's all, and you just row around the empty boat. But if there were a person steering the boat, we'd be angry. Here's the thing, the boat is always empty. Whenever we interact with other people who might do something to us, be rude, ignore us, be too demanding, break our favorite coffee cup, and so on, we're bumping into an empty boat. We just think there's some fool in that boat who should have known better. But really, it's just a boat bumping into us, no harm intended by the boat. That's a hard lesson to learn because we tend to imbue the actions of others with a story of their intentions and how they should have acted instead. We think they're out to get us, or they should base their lives around being considerate to us and not offending us. But really, they're just doing their thing without bad intent, and the boat just happens to bump into us. When we see things with this lens, they suddenly become emptied of anger and stress. Our boss was rude? Empty boat. Just respond appropriately. Don't imbue with a story. Kid throws a tantrum? Empty boat. Just breathe and find the appropriate, non-angry response. This is detachment. It's seeing the actions and words of others as just phenomena happening outside of us, like a leaf falling or the wind blowing. We don't get angry at the wind for blowing, and yet the blowing does affect us. Let the actions of your kid be the wind blowing. You just need to find an appropriate response rather than being stressed that this phenomenon is happening. So when your kid is doing something other than what you'd like, let go of that desired outcome that's stressing you out, and let go of the story you've imbued into their actions. Just think, empty boat, wind blowing. And then give them a hug. Let love guide your actions. Teach, don't control. Set an example of how they should behave with your compassionate response. They're watching you, not listening to your words, and that's how they learn. And number 2, making things easier. The prior mentioned skills take practice, and I'm still learning them myself. I don't claim to be the best at them, but the learning itself is a good process to go through. With all that said, there are some things you can do to make managing kids easier and less stressful. Number 1, teach them to be self-sufficient. Each step along the way, teach them to take care of themselves according to their ability to learn new skills. If they learn to brush their teeth, shower, fix their breakfast, wash their dishes, and eventually cook and clean and wash their own clothes, life becomes much easier. Number 2, set boundaries. There are certain lines they shouldn't cross for safety reasons, and the earlier you can teach these lines, the better. Then there are softer lines that are inappropriate to cross, being disrespectful of others, damaging property, and so on. And for these lines, it's good to teach them as early as possible why it's bad to cross the lines. Repetition is key, and eventually they learn and things are easier for all concerned. Number 3, give them responsibility. Older kids can watch younger kids. Kids can pitch in with family chores like sweeping and washing dishes and wiping counters and cleaning bathrooms. This is good for them as it teaches them to be a part of a team and take pride in their work, while it reduces the load for you. Number 4, don't schedule too much. Many parents overbook their kids with practices and lessons and clubs and play dates and sports and recitals and much more. This gives the kids no time to play and invent on their own and makes life much more stressful for the parent. Schedule as little as possible and let them figure out how to use their time. And number 5, relax your expectations. Parents tend to expect the world of their kids, from how successful they'll be, to how perfect they'll be at skills, to how little they'll mess up with things around the house, to how perfect they'll behave. Of course, none of these expectations is realistic nor fair to the kid. Let them go, accept them for who they are, and just have a good time with them. I say all of these things like I've perfected them, but of course I haven't. I have a wonderful set of kids, and I know I'm lucky. I am also lucky to have an amazing wife, Eva, who bears the brunt of the stress and makes things so much easier for me. But when the above things work, they work great. Parenting can be stressful, but it can also be joyful. I choose joyful. You just listened to the post titled, Flowing with the Stresses of Kids, or Anyone Else, by Leo Babauta of ZenHabits.net. As Leo said, parenting can be stressful, but it can also be joyful. Isn't that so true? When it comes to our kids and loved ones, we often have a tendency to expect a lot of them. But when we set boundaries and just accept others for who they are, we give ourselves more room to relax and go with the flow. I personally like how Leo reminds us to just breathe before finding a suitable response to a stressful situation. Detachment doesn't mean that you don't care about something. It's about choosing to respond in a way that doesn't make us even more stressed out, especially when we can't completely control the actions and words of others around us. I'm sure many of us can appreciate this advice. And on that note, I just want to remind you that I cover a ton of parenting and family-related content, so go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to get any future episodes sent to you. But with that, let's wrap it on up. Thanks so much for joining me here today, and I'll see you again tomorrow for the final show of the week, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Mark and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.